record these and I can put them up for future reference and stuff. How's everyone's weekend? Pretty good. Unit tests. Y'all really just do only my classwork during your weekends, don't you? like every time I ask the question, everyone's always talking about the projects. like I have one suggestion, which is like do things with your lives that aren't just start classwork. That's pretty fun sometimes. Um, this was an oddly specific story that Johanna had. She takes a swig of apple cider vinegar and you spilled it on yourself. That sucks. Well, I know that people use apple cider vinegar to like get rid of their fruit flies, so at least now you won't have any fruit flies near you. So that's good. Oh yeah, I got a haircut. Yeah, so my girlfriend just like buzzes off my hair every couple months. So that's just a thing that I've been doing even before COVID. So that's brand new. Like that you're trying to exfoliate, Justin. Always nice to take care of skincare. Quick little secret. When I give you the in-class work, I just go and like wash my face and do my skincare regime. So like I do a whole like skincare thing during my class breaks. So you're not the only one trying to exfoliate, Justin. Um, Quality bonding time. What was the quality bonding time? Just with friends or what? With my haircut, exactly. Yes. It's really funny. Her deal with me is pretty much like if I get everything set up and I clean the like bathroom and like get everything ready to go after that, then she'll give me a haircut. But if she ever has to like clean anything or anything, she refuses to give me a haircut next time. So it's like this whole thing where it's like every time we just like have a mini argument about what's my responsibility and what's not. So just a little thing, quality bonding for sure. But we've been doing it for like 5 years now, where like she'll just give me a haircut every like 3 or 4 months. We'll put it off as much as we can, and then we'll be like, okay, my hair's way too long. So that's a thing. All right. What I don't think I did much this weekend, honestly. I think I just caught up on work, to be honest. But now I'm pretty caught up on work. Like I'm actually chilling a little bit tomorrow, which is good because I haven't chilled for like a week and a half or a month and a half. I don't think I took a day off of work. So that's nice that I'll actually have some like downtime tomorrow. That being said, the weather is absolutely terrible every day here now. I don't understand if that's just a Jersey thing, but it was not this bad in San Francisco or New York. I don't know why the weather is just awful here every day. I blame all of you Jersey people. Uh, I think it's just your fault. Yeah, it's also just a 2020 thing. That's fair. 2020 it just has to be miserable in every possible way. So I get that for sure. Yeah, I know. It feels like we're in England without like all the British people. So it's super weird. Cool. Let's talk about some stuff. Oh, really? Oh, well, yeah, New York is worse when the weather's like this, but I was just never had weather like this for like a full month when I was in New York. I don't know. Maybe I missed something about that. All right, let's talk about visualizations and project 3 stuff today. So here's an agenda. The date is, well, the date says March 25th, 2020, which is obviously not what today's date is, but I forgot to change that. Oops. Some administrative things. So project 2 milestone 3 was due last night. I heard unanimous feedback that that was the most fun thing and that all of you want to be testers when you grow up, right? Like that's what everyone is aiming to be now, right? Like that's how fun that project was. Um, I'm glad to hear that. This is a software engineering course, but like if you want to learn more about testing and do unit testing for the rest of your lives, that is an option. Like that, people do that. So like you can totally be a tester for the rest of your life if you loved that last milestone. Yeah, I mean everyone loves Pylint because it fixes all their problems for them. Oh wait, you like Pylint? I liked Black a lot more because it fixes all my problems for me. Um, And oh yeah, the other thing is on Circle CI stuff, there were like unexpected problems with it. I didn't know there were credits, so that became a whole thing. So I just canceled that part of the project completely. Um, if you did it, you get 5 points extra credit. If you didn't do it, you get 21 out of 21. You just get the points for it. So don't worry about that. Yeah, right. Pylint is that one dude who just complains about everything, and then Black is the guy who actually just goes and like fixes your shit for you. Um, but anyway, yeah, Circle CI, if you did it, you get 5 points extra credit. If you haven't done it and you really want to, and you're done with everything else in this class, including Project 3, then go ahead and set up your Circle CI on a personal repo, and then take a screenshot, and I'll give you the points. Really not worth it. There's no world in which you will be 5 points away from an A or a B or a C in this class and not get it. Like that's just not how I grade things. So like that would be silly. You're not. It's really not worth the effort. But I figured I'd make it equitable. So if you want to, you can do that. I also assigned groups last night. You can check them out in the People tab in Canvas. You also got an email introducing you to your industry mentor. If you didn't get an email, don't put that in the chat right now. It probably means that I think that you are not on track to get a 65 or higher in the first two projects. If you think that's a mistake, if you're like, wait, I've gotten 90s on everything, then that could be like something you want to let me know about. But it's unlikely. I double and triple checked everything. The TAs double and triple checked everything. So it's possible that we made a mistake, but it's unlikely. But let me know either way if you're not in a group and you think you should be in a group based on your performance in class. Yeah, so Johanna, partial group meetings are allowed. I was originally going to say everyone has to go, but that's fine if you have to have partial group meetings. The only thing I would say is you don't want to be like, you don't want your group to always not have Johanna in every single meeting. That would be bad. So like find a team or find a time that works for most people. But if you can't find one that regularly works for most people, like switch off who isn't available or something like that. But it is okay to have partial meetings. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. One last thing. Oh yeah, and then the group proposal is due in 5 days. Follow the spec. There's a template in there that you must follow. It's not an optional template. You have to use that template. So make sure you fill it out. Submit before Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Since a lot of people were saying that this class is a little too easy, I decided to give you a Sunday deadline instead of a regular like Tuesday deadline. So yeah, like you can thank all the people who reached out to me and said the class is way too easy right now. So now you're gonna have 2 deadlines a week. No, I'm just playing. Sunday, we're just doing a Sunday deadline this time because that way you get a full week to do your next sprint instead of a half week or something like that. So I apologize in advance. Just be grateful that I didn't do like Halloween day at 11:59 p.m. I'm sorry about that. This is just one thing that we're gonna have to suck up and get over. But from here on out, all deadlines are going to be Tuesdays. So back to normal after this one deadline. Also, this is the easiest assignment. You don't have to write any code this week. And all of you software engineers, y'all are weird because you like not writing code. From what I remember last week, you were like so excited about having a week of not writing code, which like I don't understand you people, but you get to write words instead of code this week. Like lucky you, I guess. Isn't the whole point of doing this major not to write words and to write code? That's so weird. But yeah, you get to not write code again. You get to write words. Whatever makes you feel happy, I guess. Um, Please reach out if you feel like you're exhausted, if life is getting real, if like you're just having a hard time mentally or physically or whatever. Just like whole just let me know and I'm going to be willing to work with you. We all cope with with stress and change in different ways, especially during COVID. For those of you who don't know, I am very flexible about stuff. Like one student actually in this class reached out to me and they were like, hey, my computer broke. Am I just gonna have to take late days? And I was like, bruh, no, like you can take as many late days as you want. I'll be fine with that. Like I understand shit gets in the way, and that's okay. What is the best way to reach out to your teammates? I'm not going to tell you that. Figure it out. Whatever you want. Use Slack, Discord. I don't know, text messages, carrier pigeons, whatever you want to do. That's up to you, pretty much. Yeah, just use the chat app you made. I love it. Like, just literally use your Project 2 chat app to chat with everyone. I love it. Sreshth code. There we go. um, Cool. One more thing about your midterm now. The midterm is open book. It's a take-home exam. You'll have 48 hours to do it. It takes approximately 25 to 30 hours to complete, so not too bad. You can knock it out in a good 30-hour session, I'd say. Again, I'm kidding. It's going to take about 2 hours. If you're spending any more time than that, like if you're spending more than 2 hours on it, you're doing something really wrong. So like after 2 hours, after 120 minutes, if you're not done, you're like, it's going to be weird. Like you shouldn't be spending that much time. You can use any resources you want except other people, whether that's virtually, in person, on the phone, I don't care. You cannot ask a different person a question. Already using existing Stack Overflow questions, that's fine. Using the Slack to like find out old questions that have been answered, that's fine. Using my old lecture slides, that's fine. Using my old videos and demos, those are all fine. You just can't ask people active questions after that. And that includes people in the class and outside of class. It's not going to be a hard exam. It's only worth 7.5%, so don't cheat on it. You can literally use any resource except talking to other people. So it's not going to be hard again, so don't worry about that. My thing here is I am trusting you not to cheat on this. But if I find out someone cheated, then I am no longer going to trust anyone in this class, and things are going to get bad. If any one person in the class cheats, they will get a 0. They will be reported to the administration. And as an extra additional cherry on top, the entire class gets their final exam, which is going to be very hard, with a closed book exam using ProctorU at the scheduled time. The scheduled time is 7 a.m. right now. So if you want to do a 7 to 10 a.m. exam, closed book, very hard on ProctorU, then go ahead and cheat. If I catch you, then you're going to get a 0 on the midterm, and you're also all going to be taking a ProctorU exam at 7 a.m. I mean, someone told me it was at 7 a.m. I don't know if that's true or not, but like someone told me that that was a thing. So I don't know, whatever the scheduled time is, that's what it is. Yeah, don't cheat. It's really not worth it. Like it's just not something that you want to do. Yeah, you can all just take the L and take a 0. Keep in mind that this class is not curved. I've never curved an assignment ever in my life, and I don't plan on starting now. So if you take a 0, you're all taking a 0, and no one's getting an A in the class. So that's up to you. But it's okay. None of you are going to get A's in this class anyway. It's just my goal is not to give anyone an A in the class. I'm just kidding. Wait, can you get an A with 0s on the exam? Is that a thing? Oh, really? I thought 90 is an A in my class. Yeah, and 90 is an A in my class, I thought. I guess if you do all the extra credit and get 100 on everything, I'm pretty sure 90 is an A in the class. But yeah, I do give you extra credit and stuff, so should be fine. So you have to get like 30% of all the points on your exam to get an A in the class, so like not that hard. Cool. Let's talk about goals today. So, well, before I do that, do we have any questions on the project, on the exam, anything we've covered in class, milestone 3, anything? All right, let's keep going then. So today's lecture is going to be about the visual stuff. I'm assuming you're doing testing for project 3. Of course you're doing testing for project 3. The testing is going to be slightly different. The only difference is going to be that you don't do testing at the end like what we did in project 2. You're going to do testing while you write methods. So you're going to write a method and then you're going to write your unit test. You're going to write a new method, you're going to write your unit test. And then instead of just doing a git commit every time, you're going to do an ESLint and a PyLint every time, fix your errors, and then commit. That's just going to be a lot less painful than what you did in project 3 because or in project 2, because it's kind of painful to do it all in one go, right? It's not fun to do all of your testing at the end. And it's not fun to address all of your lint stuff at the end. So if you do it while you're writing it, it's just going to be less of a hassle, and it's going to make you actually have a solid, reliable app the entire time. Does that make sense, Rami? Cool. So today we're going to be talking about visual stuff. So we talked about user stories last time. Let's talk about visual specs now. So this is my why do we care slide. I wanted to give you some more time to work in class. So I'm just going to run through this real quick. You might not be actually doing design stuff in your career, but you should have a general idea of what the process looks like, because even if you're not a designer, you'll probably be involved with the design process as you become a more senior engineer. For this class, of course, for the project 3 proposal, you need to actually have your wireframes inside of project 3. And before you do your project 3, before you do your wireframes, you want to make sure to do it with the sketches. So let's talk about visual specs. So user stories are great, right? They tell you about how people are going to use your app, how they're going to interact with it, stuff like that. But they don't tell us about how things should look, and they don't tell us the relative importance of each experience. So let's take a look at these user stories from last week. I know that feels like a year ago, but this is a quick reminder of what we had. As a regular user, I should be able to create a new document so I can jot down notes. As a creator of a document, I should be able to invite friends. As a collaborator of the document, I should be able to edit the document. So these are good. We already said these are solid user stories. What is a shortcoming of some of these user stories, though? Any thoughts? No, so the actual user stories are fine. They're good. There's nothing wrong with the user stories themselves. But in the holistic, let's say that this was all you knew about an app. What are some shortcomings about that, Alan? What are you missing about the app? Sure, you don't know what it looks like. What about from the user perspective? What do we need to supplement this first story with? It says that I should be able to create a new document so I can jot down notes, but what piece are we missing here? The how, exactly. So I'm saying that we should be able to create a new document, but I'm not specifying how I create that new document. I'm not saying I should be able to create a new document by pressing this button in the top right-hand corner. That would be an example of a shitty user story, because I don't care about that stuff. The visual stuff doesn't belong in a user story. But we need to be able to say how to actually do that and to make sure that it's intuitive to users. It's also funny because at Facebook, we don't use the word user to describe app users. We use people because there's a very famous vice president at Facebook, like a VP, and he always likes to say that users are what you call drug users, but people are what you call people who use your app. So it feels so weird to me whenever I use the word user here, because I'm just I just imagine all these super drugged up people sitting in a room using Google Docs or something. Yeah, I mean, most companies like user. Facebook likes to stay away from that for that reason. User sounds too formal or metrics driven, and Facebook likes to at least pretend to be a people driven place. Cool. So some things that we have as shortcomings are what appears where, which of these will the user see over which other things, what stories can start on the same screen, and which ones are important, which are prominent, and how are we going to highlight them. So again, we want to specify the how, not just the what. And the easiest way to do this is with pictures. So what's the easiest way to make a sketch? What do you think is the easiest, fastest way to actually make a sketch? Any thoughts? A whiteboard? Yeah, whiteboard makes sense. Pen and paper, yep, definitely. And some people said Microsoft Paint. Great. These are all great ways to actually make a sketch. MS Paint, whiteboard, or pen and paper. But one thing to keep in mind is we generally in class would have done this on a whiteboard, but I don't have a whiteboard at least. I'm assuming most of you don't have whiteboards, so we're just going to do this on pen and paper. So that's what we're going to talk about, how to sketch this on pen and paper. And every time it says marker and whiteboard here, just find and replace that with pen and paper, because I made these slides for in person, not for the COVID world. Um, so the best part about using pen and paper is you know the tools, you're familiar with them, you can use it for brainstorming, and you can sit together at a virtual whiteboard and push it out. It's super easy to change. You can use a whiteboard eraser, and you can just, if you want to, you can just recycle the paper and start again. Um, Again, you want to focus on the user experience here. You don't want to focus on the pixels. You don't want to focus on what the button looks like. You want to focus on what these flows might look like or what a screen might look like. So if a user involves being able to do an action, just sketch out what that might look like. So that might be like a tap, swipe, or double tap. You can indicate, for example, a tap by putting a small circle. A double tap is going to be a circle with a 2 inside of it, and a swipe is just going to be an arrow pointing in whatever direction you want. One major thing to keep in mind is you want to focus not on the artistic quality of these sketches, but just the major elements. So for example, you only want to have basic shapes. You only want to have like lines, circles, triangles, rectangles, stuff like that. Um, you don't want to use text unless it's for headings and buttons. So you don't want to have like body text, for example. Like if you're sketching out like Snapchat, you don't want to have like the text that someone is actually sending. You just indicate that with a horizontal line. If your talent is drawing pretty pictures, save it for later. That's not something that we care about at this point, or pretty much ever in the design process. It's also okay if one screen is shared by multiple user stories. You can always combine multiple sketches into one sketch a little later on. Remember again that nothing at this point, whether it's user stories or sketches, is finalized. It's not supposed to be. They're for communicating your ideas, and those ideas can always change, and that's okay. So again, with your proposal, it's okay if you decide to make a proposal and then completely change your idea. I might push back a little bit and be like, are you going to get it done in time? But like, it's okay if you want to pivot a little bit. So let's take a look at some examples. So here's two different mocks that people have. These are crazy apps. Like your app should not look like this because these look really bad. But these are two different ones that I found on the internet. One is an English one, and this one looks like it's Swedish. But basically, as you can see, the actual like text doesn't matter too much. There's not much text here besides these headers like get help, Google up here, widget, press releases, stuff like that. This X means it's a image basically. It doesn't matter what the image is, it's just an X. This handicap, sure, it makes sense to have that image, but it's basically saying, cool, there's an image about like accessibility or something like that maybe. And then the rest of it is all just headers that are being aligned on the page. And again, like the actual formatting, the actual prettiness doesn't matter that much at this point. It just matters in terms of actually figuring out what this looks like. I don't think it's German. I'm pretty sure it's Swedish or at least a Nordic language. I can recognize some of it. For example, we have the U with an umlaut, and you don't see things like this in German usually, as far as I can tell. So I'm pretty sure this is a Nordic language. Not that it matters at all. But yeah, I didn't even notice until my second lecture. I was like, oh, I think this is a Nordic language. Um, Another thing I want to talk about is flows. So we talked about sketches, and that's going to be for one screen, basically, or that's going to be a mock or a sketch, whatever you want to call it. And then here's a flow. So a flow can either be linear or nonlinear. And what that means is basically here we have a linear flow. So this is like some onboarding flow. You just go through one page at a time until you're done. You also have these nonlinear flows like what we have here. So different buttons lead back and forth between different screens. And that's what this is showing here. So like this, you press this back button, it goes back here. Press this, it goes back here. And it shows all these different screens that are all related to each other. So now let's go ahead and actually sketch the Instagram home app. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that while I create some Zoom breakout rooms for later. But at this point, you can go ahead and sketch the Instagram app and basically what all of these different buttons lead you to do. So pull out your phones, figure out what Instagram looks like and what it acts like, and then actually start sketching it. If you don't have Instagram or you don't like Instagram, then you can choose a different app that you want. Once we're done with this, we're gonna put our sketches into section 00. What are you, section 3? I think you're section 3, right? Yeah. Hello, someone? Okay, cool. So put your completed, like take a picture of it and then send it in the Slack to section 003, and then I will take a look at those and then we'll go over them together. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Let's come back to class at 15:07. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what app you do. This is not, I'm not trying to like shill for Instagram right now. I'm literally just trying to get you some practice doing some sketches. All right, let's jump back in. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Um, let's see, I'm gonna pick my favorite ones. My favorite one that I've seen so far was Johanna's. And Johanna, would you mind running through your description or seeing what you, or do you mind running through it and explaining what you drew here? Oh, you can't speak anymore? Okay, no worries. Not a problem at all. There's a bunch of construction. Cool. No worries. I will do it. So Johanna has something here where she basically has a picture here, login and sign up, and then it goes here. There's an email and password. Otherwise, you can go down here and you can say email, username, password, sure. So there's a sign up that goes here. There's a login that goes here. Both of these, you complete these things, and then it goes into here. Then from here, you basically have these different things that you can go into. I don't know what app this is. It's not obvious to me, but you basically have these different things where you, this button goes and shows you all of your videos. Is it Instagram? Why is it obviously Instagram? It could be like literally anything. It could be YouTube, it could be Snapchat. All of them look the same. The- but the buttons on top always it's always the buttons on the top. Yeah, the buttons on the bottom are what makes it Instagram, but the buttons on the top are always are on all the apps. Anyway, yeah, so like then you go here, there's a follow. Okay, follow makes it a little more obviously Instagram. And then you can message someone, and then there's a grid of different buttons, and then other things like messages will go into here, for example. Very good, very well done. It basically has all of your different flows that you can have. Um, Let's see what else. There were some other ones like Devin has one here. Basically all of these different things that you have here. And then you can basically go to DMs, you can tap on this, it goes here, you tap on that, it goes to the explore page, all kinds of stuff like that. Great. How the heck did you create this in 10 minutes? That's impressive. But stuff like this totally makes sense. Question: Can companies copy other social media apps ideas? I mean, yeah, like Instagram just copied Snapchat. Like, yeah, it's totally something that you can do. Intellectual property is like a confusing thing. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how that works, but like, yeah, people copy each other all the time. It's just what it is. Um, and I mean, for the most part, I do feel like it's a healthy level of competition, with, of course, some bad repercussions on other companies, like Instagram copying Snapchat probably hurt Snapchat stock and stuff like that, which kind of sucks, but it's kind of what it is. Cool. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have to take attendance real quick. I'm gonna do that. Give me a second. Y'all can just chill for a sec while I take my screenshots. Cool. Okay, cool. So we have a lot of different pictures here. Everyone drew some sketches. They're all good. Wonderful. Great job. Now let's go back to our lecture. Cool. So let's make some more detailed designs. This was great. It took us like 10 minutes to make this, but it's not very high fidelity. And we'll talk about what fidelity means in just a second. So pen and paper is a great way to start. It's a great way to iterate on the most prominent features or the most important ones. But at some point, you're going to want more detail and closer to actually what a user would see. So this concept is called fidelity. So having high fidelity means that it looks close to what a user would see or is exactly what a user would see. Having low fidelity or lo-fi pretty much means that it's a pretty rough sketch. It's something like what we just created. It's nothing similar to what a user will see. It just lays out some of the different components and how the app will actually interact. What we made was lo-fi. What we will make, what other things we'll talk about in class today is going to be more hi-fi things. So as you refine your UI, you'll be creating higher fidelity designs. So wireframes, for example, are lo-fi, where you map out where major elements are. It's basically a digital version of what we sketched out with fake content. This looks very similar to what Rami had, I think, where he just like had a digital version of what we made. So that's basically a wireframe. What Rami made is similar to what a wireframe would be. Um, Mockups are mid-fidelity, and these lay out elements often with styling and visual changes. So this is kind of like a wireframe, which like wireframes are going to be in black and white. They're not about the aesthetics, but then mockups are going to be like wireframes with colors, emojis, visual designs, the buttons, like the styling, all of that stuff added in. Then lastly, the prototypes are hi-fi, and those are going to have interactivity and simulate entire user stories end to end. So these are going to be like where you can click on buttons, swipe, navigate, all that stuff should actually be working. So here's like a visualization of what these different things look like. So we basically made this. It took us 10 minutes. It was really easy. We ended up making that. Then you go on and you talk about what a mockup is, or a wireframe. And this is going to be a digital version of this. It looks the same thing, but with standard formats, basically. Then you go and make a mockup, which is basically just this. It's again just a static picture, but it actually has all the data filled in. Then you can make a prototype, which is actually running on a phone. It's no longer a static picture, but it's running on a phone itself. And this will actually allow you to tap on things or do whatever you need to. So there are obviously trade-offs between these different things. Lo-fi designs are easy to make, but they have a lot of room for ambiguity. So this could be harmful if you're communicating specs to other people. So for example, if you are using a lo-fi design, like paper and pencil, for example, then people might misinterpret what you're doing. This could be harmful if you're still ironing out the details. For software engineering projects with large teams, you'll usually start with lo-fi and move up as needed, basically. As these things start having more and more ambiguity, you'll start doing more and more hi-fi things. So this slide is completely wrong. Ignore this slide. But basically, you're going to go through and spend more and more time. Like it's basically a growing funnel in terms of how much time you spend on stuff. Sketches are going to take the shortest amount of time. Wireframes will take a bit more time than sketches. Sketches took like 10 minutes. Wireframes will probably take like an hour or so. Mockups will take significantly longer. They'll be like where you actually have to fill in the actual things. So those might be like maybe a week's worth of work. And then a prototype could be like a month worth of work where you're basically actually making the thing in code or in some other software. There's a lot of tools out there that exist that help you do these different things. So mockups, for example, you can use for wireframing. For whatever reason, designers like to use Qs instead of CK. It's just like a cool thing, and the designers are like the cool people in software, in like the tech world. So they like using Qs instead of CKs, I guess. So we're going to be using something called mockups for wireframing. There's also Sketch, for example, or Photoshop for mocking up things. There's also origami for prototyping. Fun fact, I actually know the guy who made origami. He's like a designer at Facebook, and he became famous for making origami pretty much. You don't have to be like a design expert to use these. With the exception of probably Photoshop, you kind of have to be an expert to use Photoshop. It's not an easy software to use. But remember, you can always also use marker and whiteboard or pen and paper. Don't get lost in the tools. Just start with the basics and work your way up. The last thing I wanted to talk about is rapid prototyping. I am personally biased towards rapid prototyping, which is a newish industry standard. It basically says because we have so many mobile apps with animations and interactions, it's hard to visually communicate using these static designs. So prototyping just jumps right to the last step. You don't worry about the mockups, you don't worry about the designs, you just make the thing. Um, so prototyping tools have actually become increasingly numerous, and they're really easy to use if you want to. But again, the fidelity trade-offs do exist, so this is still a hi-fi thing, which is going to take a while to do. Um, I personally disagree with the idea of just jumping to a prototype. I still think planning and starting with those lo-fi mocks makes more sense so that you're all aligned on the same and on the same page. One thing about vocabulary, basically, I don't care about the vocabulary like everything else in this class. I don't care about what you call it as long as you describe the fidelity of it. So clarify the degree of fidelity, and that's pretty much all that matters. Any questions on mockups, sketching, wireframes, any of that stuff? Cool. Let's keep going and talk about design. So in project 3, you're obviously going to have fidelity beyond what a marker and whiteboard provide. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use mockups. Well, I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to introduce you to a website and then leave you to it. If you're comfortable using something else, then you're welcome to do that. That's literally true for pretty much everything in the class. If you don't want to use React, for example, and you want to use Angular, go for it. If you don't want to use PostgreSQL and you want to use MongoDB instead, go for it. I don't care. Same with mockups. You can use whatever you want to do mockups, but this website, mockups.com, is what I recommend personally. But you can use whatever you want to, pretty much. Just make sure that its highest fidelity level is as high as what we want to use for mockups. So mockups look something like this. Just out of curiosity, why are you not supposed to use SQLite? Because SQLite is a very lightweight database. So like some things inside of there are just harder to use. You don't have that option in mobile. You kind of have to use SQLite. But SQLite, for example, has really slow joins. And there's like other limitations that SQLite has. So I'm just saying, like, use a real database, don't use SQLite unless you're using a mobile, unless you're making a mobile app. Yeah, so it's not like anything specific. It's more of just like SQLite is kind of like a mini database. It's like saying you want to program your app in Scratch, and it's like, sure, you can do that. You're just not going to learn anything if you're programming your app in Scratch instead of like a real programming language. Um, so this is what mockups looks like. Mockups look something like this, where you can basically drag and drop different components into here. And they're going to be standard components, and it's going to end up looking something like this. So here's a mockup of project 2, or sorry, here's a wireframe of project 2. And it's going to look something like this. You have your left-hand column with your users, you have your text box, you have your message box, and a send button. Of course, this is only one screen. You want to have the entire flow of your app. So of course you want all of your different screens in your app, not just the one screen. Of course, you can export this to your computer, Google Drive or Dropbox. You just click on this button to do that. Cool. Let's talk about project 3 now. So you received an email yesterday with your IMs. You should respond today, sometime today by the end of, like, by midnight pretty much, and schedule a time to meet either next Monday or Tuesday. All meetings will involve someone acting as the PM. This is specified in the project spec, and they will lead the meeting. That person will lead the meeting with an agenda and a plan. This isn't like some pie in the sky agenda or some like verbal plan. You must have an actual written down agenda and a written down plan on how to conduct your meeting. Um, each meeting except the first one will actually have the PM also itemizing each person's tasks and updating the IM on the progress for each user story. The first meeting is a little different. We don't have Trello boards yet, so you'll still choose a PM and the PM still needs an agenda, but no itemized tasks and stories. For now, you're just going to actually present like, hey, here's what the app is, here's the proposal, and then here's how we're thinking of breaking it down into sprints, and here's how we're going to do it. So you're basically going to spend 5 minutes on intros, 10 minutes on going over the proposal, 10 minutes on who's going to tackle what and how long it'll take, and about 5 minutes talking about feedback with the IM on what's good and what's not. The PM still obviously has to have an agenda and come prepared. If you don't do that, you all do badly. So don't do that. Make sure you have an agenda and make sure you come prepared. A couple points of advice. So please make sure that you are asking for appropriate IM meeting times. They don't want to work on weekends, so don't ask for that. If times aren't working out, Johanna asked if 1 or 2 people can't attend the meeting. Is that okay? And that is absolutely fine. Yes. If you can't attend, you're not going to lose points or anything like that. It's totally fine. As long as the PM for the week is there, you can do that. I would recommend picking the PM after picking a time, so that way you can have like you can guarantee that the PM is there. If that's the case, I ask that you record it and send it to the missing people, or at least like take notes and send those notes to the other person. I recommend using when to meet to indicate when everyone's available. Don't do when everyone wants to do it. Pick all the times that people are available to do it and then send those to the engineers. As you're going to notice, those engineers are very busy. So one of the engineers, she was like, I have 1.5 hours total that I can do. And I have 3 half-hour meetings. So you're going to have to figure out how to make that time work pretty much. So these engineers don't have a lot of availability. So don't say you're not available at 9 a.m. because you don't want to wake up on time. Just actually go ahead and say I am available at 9 a.m. They probably don't want to wake up at 9 a.m. either, but if that's the only time that works, then that's the only time that works. Give them lots of options and let them make a choice, and let them know in your email that it's okay if only 3 or 4 people can come. Create a separate working chat for the 4 of you or the 5 of you or whatever, and use that to coordinate things. Do not use the chat with your IM for day-to-day discussion. And I'm going to repeat this again. If I hear feedback from your IM that they're getting like bogged down with the day-to-day discussion, then I'm going to yell at you guys. Use a private chat for your day-to-day discussion of stuff, and then make a clean chat that only has that only involves things that your IM needs to know. So use that chat for things like scheduling. Use that chat for things like sending your Zoom link or whatever you need to use. All of you should be working together on the proposal. So that's just a separate thing. Make sure that you don't just say like, hey, Vineet is going to do the entire proposal. That's not what I'm looking for. You all should collaborate on Google Drive and make sure that you're all doing separate parts of the proposal. You're all getting one grade. So like, I ultimately don't care if Vineet's the only one working on the proposal. You're all getting the same grade on it. But please don't just have Vineet do the entire proposal. I'm going to be sad if that happens. And you might lose some points if Vineet is like, everyone else dropped the ball and I had to do the whole thing. Then I'm going to be sad and Vineet will get his credit and no one else will. But I really don't recommend doing it where one person writes up the entire thing. All right, any questions on any of those notes before we break out into rooms? Cool. A couple other things. So now we've talked about visualization and wireframes, user stories, acceptance criteria. And next week, we're going to start talking about Trello boards and prioritization. So from there on out, you're going to have individual user stories that you have for every week, and you're going to be filling those out. For your first meeting, doesn't really matter. Don't worry too much about that. But you should all know what you're working on starting Sunday, pretty much. On Sunday, you should know what you want to start working on Monday. There's no official homework today, but you do need to have your proposal due by Sunday. So carve out an hour or two today or tomorrow, hopefully today, to discuss with your group how to come up with an idea, how to divvy up your work on the proposal, and what you're going to do overall. Those are going to be super important for you, so make sure you're able to carve out that time. The proposal shouldn't take that long, divided in 4 or 5. Should probably take you like, I don't know, like 3 hours total between all of you. So like not 3 hours per person. I'm saying like 3 hours total. So maybe like 30 to 45 minutes total per person. So not too bad. Some parts might take longer, like wireframes might take an hour or more. But like for the most part, you don't have to spend like ages on your proposals. All right, at this point, we're going to go ahead and do project 3 breakouts. If I'm going to open up all the rooms now, but if you don't have a room, I'm going to either assign you or have a private conversation with you about you not doing the last one. But I'm going to open all the rooms. Go ahead and intro yourselves, like get to know each other. I recommend turning on your video so that you can like actually see who the other people in your group are and stuff like that. But I'm going to go ahead and open that now. I recommend that you spend time putting together a when to meet, emailing your IMs, and then from there we can go. From there we can start talking about project ideas. All right, the rest of you, make sure you join your groups. So
I just want to make a chat application that implements GitHub OAuth.
Sounds pretty similar.
No, it's completely different. Completely different.
Yeah, I'll
New
just
age
leave so that you
stuff.
can talk. Bye.
Take care, David.
wait, what happened, David?
David was in the wrong group.
Yeah, he was in the wrong group.
Oh, David was in the wrong group. My bad.
Yeah, he tried to steal our secrets.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah, only the first group who comes up with an idea gets credit. Everyone else gets a
Oh,
zero.
that's what I thought. Yo, why don't I just pull Mark Zuckerberg?
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna assign David to the right group. Talk to you later.
All right, sweet.
You want something else? I call you my English. Actually, I don't know.
So
Do that. It should be in Canvas.
Oh, is that professor in here?
Yep,
Wait,
I'm
the
just
professor's in
talking
here?
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
now. How's it going?
I got put into a different breakout.
Yeah.
I think we're missing one more person, or
Yeah, we are missing.
missing
I think
Mohammed,
Mohammed,
I
right?
think.
Yeah.
missing.
Mohammed is in the main section. Like he's still in the main lecture. But I'm not sure if he has like I'm not sure if he just